minister's family, not knowing how big or small she was, rushed up and scolded, Manhwa-k, who are you cursing at? He smiled and replied, whoever does it will of course curse that person. Van Diem standing next to her saw her being tickled and burst out laughing. She was so embarrassed that she became angry. She stepped forward, puffed out her butt and chest, and reasoned, Manhwa-k, my grandfather is the prime minister of the dynasty, and you are just an unfavored trash prince. Your lady not only stole my things but also dared to beat me. How do you calculate this debt? Manhwa-k was so angry that his eyes turned red. If you don't have evidence, don't talk too much. My lady doesn't care about your tattered spirit pestle. Dong-mi immediately appeared behind Manhwa-k, wagging his tail happily. He continued, but this prime minister is really unqualified. Not only does he obstruct people, but he also insults the prince. Today I will teach you on behalf of your grandfather. Dong-mi, and her mouth gave it to me. Dong-mi has been waiting for this sentence forever. Yes, after finishing speaking, both hands immediately gathered strength. That golden girl is afraid of peeing her pants. Where Manhwa-k, do you dare? Suddenly a hole in space appeared in front of her, and a hand stuck out. Manhwa-k replied, there's nothing I wouldn't dare to do. After finishing speaking, that slap was immediately printed on her face. She was slapped in the same place Jilin had slapped her, and she cried out in pain. Ah, the heavy slap made her faint on the ground. The world was spinning. It was so weird. So Duong stepped forward angrily. Manhwa-k, what are you doing? He immediately grabbed his sword and rushed up, shouting loudly, wanting to die. At the same time, he cast a mysterious palm sword move. So Chantian swung his knife and rushed towards Manhwa-k, arrogantly saying, see the trick? Not letting Manhwa-k get his hands dirty, Dong-mi stepped forward, blocked So Chantian's sword, and coldly said, just relying on you, I still want to touch the master. Her eyes opened coldly, using a seductive move to hypnotize So Chantian. So Chantian seemed to be hypnotized and stood stunned looking at Dong-mi, while she looked at him arrogantly, smirking. Submit yourself. He was drowsy, his eyes were hypnotized, his whole body was sweating, he said with difficulty. What is this move? My head hurts. Even if he wanted to resist, he couldn't resist, so he fell down and knelt down in front of Dong-mi. Manhwa-k stood to the side, looking at the current situation, frowning uncomfortably and thinking, this fox demon actually has the golden core stage. I'm afraid I can only fight her evenly. What kind of ability does this Manhwa-k have to be able to keep this monster by his side? Is it because of his purine body? Just as Dong-mi was about to take action, Manhwa-k immediately interrupted. Wait. Hearing Manhwa-k speak out to stop, Manhwa-k looked at him and smiled coldly and asked, do you want to participate too? Manhwa-k waved his fan and smiled and said, Six brother, the prime minister has fainted. If we don't treat it, it will leave sequelae in the future. Out of respect for your royal brother, release So Duong's control technique and let him take your sister home, okay? Manhwa-k heard that and smiled coldly, saying, okay. He turned around to prepare to leave, looked at Manhwa-k, waved his hand and said, if your brother wants to be a good person, then take the two of them home yourself. Anyway, after a while, this technique will automatically dispel. My lady and I would like to go first. He heard his sarcasm and angrily tightened the fan in his hand. Manhwa-k. Manhwa-k also stopped paying attention to him and walked over to help So Chantian. Are you okay? So Chantian was in pain, her face pale, and she said, I'm fine. A sound rang out in his ear that made him blush, frown and look over in question. What? The voice? As soon as he looked over, he saw a cute dog paw at So Chantian's seat. He was surprised and so angry that he gritted his teeth. Even the dog was humiliating him. So Chantian couldn't swallow this anger and shouted angrily, Manhwa-k! Over here, on Manhwa-k's carriage, a sneeze shook the whole carriage. His sneeze made Hoa Duong Van Diem stare at him in surprise, while his wife looked at him with half an eye. These eyes made him sweat and smile awkwardly. At the royal palace, on the long road, Manhwa-k trudged step by step in hateful anger and discomfort. He remembered Mo Dung Min Noyet's hateful face. Her face was frowning. Her cold voice scolded him. Manhwa-k, you are very good. You look down on the elder. You are lawless. And you dare to insult the royal brother. You in front of so many people. Starting from today, you stay in the palace and think about me. Don't go anywhere. The more he remembered, the angrier he became. Damn old woman. If you say it's forbidden, then it's forbidden. Thinking so, he angrily walked back to the palace. Feeling footsteps walking behind him, he turned his head to look in surprise. He was surprised to see the person walking next to him. Isn't this Lang Leet, the male lead in the original work? Why is he here? That's right, I remember. In the original work he was appointed to the position of assistant to the second prince. So he came. He is an important character connecting all events. If we can keep him by our side, perhaps the ending in the original story can be avoided. Thinking so, he stared at Lang Leet. The system electronic board immediately displayed notifications. He looked at those notices and was filled with surprise. As expected of the original male protagonist, there were props that could be used on him. Thinking so, he approached, raised his hand in greeting and smiled, saying, "Isn't this Lang Leet? I'm free to go to the palace today." Lang Leet was a bit startled when he saw him, but quickly bowed and clasped his hands together in respectful greeting. "Meeting the sixth prince, I obey your majesty's orders and have the honor to enter the palace to be the second prince's tutor." Manhwa.k smiled and said, "So it's like that. It must have been a lot of hard work on the road. If Mr. Lang doesn't mind, you can come to my palace to stay for a few days." Hearing his suggestion, Lang Leet smiled wryly and clasped his hands together to refuse. Receiving the sixth prince's concern, I feel very honored, but suddenly entering the sixth prince's palace is a bit unsatisfactory. Worth. Hearing that, Manhwa.k smiled wryly and rubbed his head. That's right, in his heart he thought, okay, after all, my status and identity are not respected by others. Lang Leet seemed to read his thoughts and smiled and explained, "Don't misunderstand the sixth prince. It's just that not long after I have to lead the second prince to Netherworld Palace for testing, so I don't dare delay." Hearing this, Manhwa.k was startled. "You mean Earth Palace?" Recalling the original work, he rubbed his chin and seriously thought. "That's right, why did I forget this important thing?" On this side of the bedroom, Qilin is sitting on the bed focusing on practicing the exercises. The demon fox in that ring hovered around Qilin's body, saying, "Now I will pass on to you this book Spirit Fox Heart Sutra. To what extent it can be promoted depends on your ability to comprehend it." "Just you." She frowned uncomfortably, recalling the past, thinking, "That year, when I comprehended the last chapter of this Heart Sutra, I had already reached its peak. If it weren't for that man, I went into hiding. Damn it, how can you get to this point when your power is gone?" Demon Fox coldly looked at Qilin, her blushing face. The key to this Heart Sutra was actually double cultivation. She just placed her hand near Qilin's abdomen. She immediately reacted, startled, surprising Love Fox. "What is that?" "It's out." Yuho looked at Qilin thoughtfully and said, "It seems that it is not enough." Qilin lay on the bed. Her face was pink, and she was breathing heavily. Demon Fox looked at her gloomily and said, "Next, I will show you the true bliss of the human world." Having said that, she slowly ran her hands over the sensitive spots on Qilin's body, making Qilin shiver and say with difficulty, "Don't touch that." Demon Fox seemed to think of something, bent down, and curled his lips calculatingly, saying, "Your body, lend it to me for a bit." Not long after, Manhwa.k finally returned to the palace. Walking on a long road, he thought, "What should I take my lady out to eat later?" He smiled and walked into the room, smiling and saying, "My lady, I'm coming in." As soon as he entered the room, he immediately felt a very strange atmosphere. Qilin stood far away, wearing only a thin layer of cloth, waiting for him. As soon as she heard his voice, Qilin turned around and smiled seductively. "Husband, you're finally back." Seeing this scene, Manhwa.k's face immediately turned black and his whole body broke out in sweat. Incorrect. Qilin didn't say anything, grabbed him, pressed him on the bed, and carefully leaned down to kiss his ear. Manhwa.k was surprised but a little uncomfortable and said, "My lady." With just one small action, his whole body was in pain. The purple aura surrounding his body gradually left. He was surprised, feeling as if the negative energy had been sucked away. Qilin just felt the negative energy pouring into her body. As if she had achieved pleasure, she arched her body and moaned, but suddenly thought in her heart, just like that, the power had flooded in. Manhwa.k calmly sat up and asked darkly, "You're not my wife, right? You're the fox demon in that ring." Hearing that, the fox demon smiled and sat in his lap, stroking his hair and saying, "You are also smart. How about it? I will borrow your lady's body to use your strength to the limit. Should I do that? Isn't it for the good of your lady?" She bent down and looked at him fascinated, saying, "What are you hesitating about? Come in quickly." The next day, Qilin excitedly danced her sword in the middle of the yard. Looking at her sword dancing in the yard, he praised in his heart, "Fan Noak Kin Hong, Yuyan Noak Du Long." It seems that the lady's swordsmanship has improved a lot. But what happened last night must have left you unimpressed. Fortunately, I knocked her out after that. Otherwise, if I followed that fox demon, I would have been sucked clean of such harmful things. We should still find a way to let her leave my lady's body just okay. Manhwa.k crossed his arms and smiled and praised. Dong Mi, it seems that you have taught me very well, not bad. Hearing his praise, Dong Mi happily said, Master, you are too complimentary. Dong Mi is just trying to do her best. She is a good lady's natural talent. She is already intelligent as soon as she studies. He seriously opened the system and looked at the new prop. The card to increase cultivation. The duration of the 5-layer golden dan is 30 seconds. The cooldown time is half a day. Looking at the screen, he thought, last time he felt the intense cultivation. Almost reached the peak of Nguyen on stage. Manhwa.k rubbed the ends of his hair and looked into the distance, thinking. 5 days later is the day the Netherworld Palace opens. Human Earth Palace is the place where the demon race is sealed, always guarded by Ton Nak Lin Ventong. Human Earth Palace, every 24 years will open for cultivators to stay outside for 7 days. Aura is abundant, extremely suitable for cultivation, but at the same time, there are many demonic beasts in this area. The deeper you go, the more monsters there are and the stronger they become. It is said that Human Earth Palace has a total of 3 floors. People can go to the 3rd deepest floor. You will be able to receive the inheritance of the supreme divine art of Ton Nak Lin Van Sek's ancestor. But for nearly 400 years, no one has ever been able to successfully step in. He mused more and more as he remembered the original. In the original, Lang Leet was the one who received the golden hand here, but only Chi Lin. At this point, he didn't think anymore, smiled, raised his hand and said loudly towards Chi Lin. My lady, pack your luggage, let's leave on time. Looking at Chi Lin, he silently made up his mind. But with me here, history will change. In the Queen's palace, Murong Min Noyet sat on a chair drinking tea and thinking. She frowned seriously. Van Dao didn't know what drug she was bewitched by, but she fell. Sure enough, behind Chi Bak, there seemed to be a noble secret treasure protecting her and Manhwa.k. Lang won't make any waves, it's just a pity we've lost a pawn. This palace had Lang Leet personally support the second prince. Perhaps after returning from this trip to Hell's underworld, having the position of prince in the future will be a given. Thinking of this, she smirked confidently. 5 days later, entrance to Yumin Hell Palace. Manhwa.k's group had already arrived at the door. He looked at the underground palace in front of him in surprise. Was this the Yumin Earth Palace? He frowned seriously and looked at it. This 7-day practice is an opportunity that is rare in 1,000 years. I must take full advantage of my ability to improve myself here. The 2 elders guarding the door just saw Manhwa.k's group and said, Humph, these 2 women could be the next generation of the demon race. The evil aura on their bodies really makes people not cold but cold. What a human heart. It's easy to change, since when do these little noble brats dare to walk openly into this place? Upon hearing these words, Chi Lin's face immediately turned black. He felt the murderous aura of his lion and looked worriedly at her. The ridiculous details of this novel feel like they're gossiping in front of everyone. Chan Tian appeared with a majestic posture, a steely expression, grabbed Chi Lin's hand and said, Elders, this is my Manhwa.k's wife and entourage. If you still say things like that, then don't blame me. Nim thought to himself with a very disdainful gesture. He's just the son of a disgraced concubine. It's said that he's still a natural-born trash. Can't even practice. What's there to brag about? Wild. After that brief moment of thought, he quickly responded to Chan Tian. Right next to him is Nim's servant. I didn't know that the 6th prince and his royal highness had already offended. He continued to say. But the noble prince's body, the dark underground palace, is an extremely dangerous place. Is it dangerous to come here this time without any guards? Chan Tian also responded to him with an extremely majestic and confident expression. There is no need for the elders to worry about this matter. I have my own lady to protect me. After that, he took Chi Lin's hand and led him inside the dark underground palace and said loudly, Are there many people here already? It seems that everyone does not want to miss this opportunity to practice every 20 years. The soldiers appeared with extremely outstanding armor, along with spears in their hands, looking at Chan Tian with enthusiasm. Chan Tian stepped inside the underground palace and saw a sign saying, Fairy water, cultivating immortals, visitors only need 20 taels of gold to have a bottle in hand, along with a group of people surrounding the stall. The shop and the boss were smiling brightly. He had to exclaim, Oh my God, 20 taels of gold per bottle, a robbery? Are these people sacrificing their consciences for the sake of business?